Boris Johnson joked about how many children he has, as he looked to ease tensions at the first meeting of his new-look cabinet this morning. In what looked to be an awkward seating plan, Liz Truss was placed next to her predecessor Dominic Raab after taking over from him as Foreign Secretary. Mr. Raab was sat stone-faced as he was pictured listening to the Prime Minister. An almighty row broke out between Mr. Raab and the Prime Minister on Wednesday afternoon after Mr. Johnson told the Esher and Walton MP he was to be demoted. Behind closed doors in Mr. Johnson's office in Parliament, and in No 10 Downing Street, there was a tussle over what role Mr. Raab would take. The outgoing Foreign Secretary initially rejected an offer to serve as Justice Secretary and only agreed to take on the role after also being given the official title of Deputy Prime Minister. He was left seething at being asked to change role after he was commended by the Prime Minister for stepping in and taking charge during the pandemic last spring when Mr. Johnson was hospitalized with COVID. Ms. Truss was rewarded with the promotion to Foreign Secretary after impressing as International Trade Secretary. Addressing his cabinet this morning, Mr. Johnson said his team had all made it there on merit but encouraged them. Now is the time to redouble their efforts, he made the remarks as he joked about the number of children he has to break the ice. Sat around the cabinet table with Cabinet Secretary Simon Case to his right and Chancellor Rishi Sunak to his left. Mr. Johnson said, "I want to thank you all because you're all here on your merits, because you've worked incredibly hard. But I want you to work even harder now. I'm just thinking about delivery. I've seen a few delivery rooms. Probably seen as many delivery rooms as anybody in this. Apart from the exception of Jacob Rees-Mogg. I know that delivery normally involves a superhuman effort by at least one person in the room. But there are plenty of other people in that room who are absolutely indispensable to that successful outcome." The Prime Minister described his opening remarks as a half-time pep talk as he looked to focus his government's efforts on building back better after the pandemic. He said the new cabinet would need to work even harder to improve the lives of the public on issues such as recruiting 20,000 more police officers, cutting crime, building 48 new hospitals, rolling out gigabit broadband, improving skills, getting to net zero and leveling up opportunities for everyone across the UK, a Downing Street spokesperson said. He set out that this government has a record of getting things done, including delivering on Brexit and taking on one of the most difficult questions that has bedeviled British governments for decades through the health and care levy, which will fix the social care system and enable our NHS to bounce back from the pandemic. The tense-looking pictures of Mr. Raab and Ms. Truss sat next to each other this morning came after it was claimed both ministers have put in bids to be given access to the Grace and Favour residence of Chevening. Traditionally, the residence has been used by the Foreign Secretary to host guests, but it was shared by William Hague and Nick Clegg in the coalition years. Asked about the alleged stand-off, the Prime Minister's official spokesman said, "You will appreciate that the reshuffle is still ongoing. There is a long process in place for nominating the occupants of Chevening House, and we will update in due course." Pressed on whether both ministers had put in bids to use the residence, the official added, "I'm not going to get into discussions. We will conclude the reshuffle and then we will get into the long-standing processes, like residences." The number 10 spokesman said. There was not one single post that was entitled to use the Kent Country House.